Okay, let's go. Hey, Dom, how are you?
Fantastic, Lucas. Thanks for having me on the program again.
Yeah, great. Yeah, last time we were talking, it was early this year. A lot of things happened since then. It feels like it's years ago, but it isn't. It is just a few months. So great to have you back here on the show. Yeah, you're from BANXA, which is a very interesting company, a very interesting stock. Yeah, can you tell us about BANXA? What are you doing there?
Certainly. Banks is a fintech PSP regtech company specifically for the digital asset market or the cryptocurrency space. The best way to look at Banksa is we're like the PayPal for the crypto industry. And what we're doing is we're building a payments and compliance bridge between the fiat world. And when I say fiat, I mean Euro, US, Canadian dollar world, with the digital asset world being Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other coins. And so we do this through what we call the fiat on-ramps as well as the fiat off-ramps. And we basically plug our technology, our infrastructure into global crypto to crypto exchanges around the world like KuCoin, Huobi, Binance, and many others. And we ultimately allow our customers to acquire more customers because we take care of the payments as well as all the compliance and the regulation. And I'm sure we're going to talk much more about that later on.
Yes, for sure. Regulation is a big topic in this industry. We have this infrastructure bill in the US with the broker definition and so on. Yeah, what can you tell us there about the regulation?
First and foremost, when we got involved in the industry in 2014, there were no rules. It was what I call the Wild West. Over time, we've started seeing many more rules and regulations starting to emerge. And just to give you some context, in fact, when we started the business in Australia, in 2017, we helped form an association. We lobbied the government for regulation. And in fact, we got one of the first licenses in the world for cryptocurrency exchange. And so we've very much grown up as a regulated entity. To date, we've acquired many other VASP, virtual asset service provider licenses around the world. And that's really part of our secret sauce and how we build a moat around our company. And so when we see new countries around the world starting to implement new rules and regulations, it's in fact music to our ears. It actually plays to our strength and it actually makes us even more valuable to our partners. And so that's really part of the BANXA value proposition.
Okay, sounds like you're prepared for all these kinds of regulation. They will come with all the reporting stuff and so on. Yeah, I think that's important for investors because I have the feeling since the regulation tightens, yeah, a lot of crypto stocks, yeah, they suffered a little bit from this, but yeah, that's always the problem. There are different companies. There are some they are very good prepared for things like this, and others not. But yeah, we have seen this with the miners earlier this year. They all dropped then, and yeah, that's how it is. But in the end, I think yeah, there will be a separation. Yeah, that's what I see in the future here.
Our view is simply that regulation that is fit for purpose is actually good for the industry. It provides an element of consumer protection, as well as providing a good framework. And what it also does, which once again is a real benefit to BANXA, is it lifts the actual barrier to entry for anyone coming in. And just to give you some, the people listening, just to give context, one of the recent licenses that we acquired was here in the Netherlands. And that was a 12-month process. So you don't just turn up to a country and get a license. It's a very long, expensive process. And we've already got a number of licenses around the world. We are now in the process of acquiring licenses in the US as well. And that's even more complicated. That's on a state-by-state basis. But that's very much, out of our 160 people, about 40 people are in regulation and compliance. So we take this part of the business very seriously. And at the same time, it's part of the offering to our clients. We don't just process payments, but we do it in a compliant manner. And that's really part of our secret sauce.
Okay, yeah, yeah. The thing is, you're in different locations. I think you're listed in Canada on the TSX right now. You're operating a lot in Europe and Australia, and you now say, okay, we're going to the US, which is very interesting because it seems like it's the biggest market for everything, for capital and so on. So yeah, what is the outlook here?
We've obviously got our sights firmly on the US. We actually already have business in the US, which we do through a partner. However, from a stock perspective, as you mentioned, we're listed on the TSXV and the OTCQX. As we've alluded to before, my view is BANXA belongs on NASDAQ. We have already started the process. I can't say much more at this point, but all I'll say is watch this space over the next couple of weeks as we provide some further information to the marketplace with regards to our NASDAQ uplist. And just to give you some timeframes around that, one of the beauties of the TSXV is that it's a very good stepping stone to NASDAQ. Once we're listed there for more than 12 months, and our 12-month anniversary is on the 6th of January, 2022, what we're able to do is we can effectively fast track onto NASDAQ and get certain exemptions from, for example, Sarbanes-Oxley for 5 years. It's a much more cost-effective process. And hence, we've already started working on the process. Once again, I can't get into too much of the detail. Our view, if you're asking me, I think early 2022, BANXA will be listed on NASDAQ, but we'll certainly keep the market and you informed of that.
Cool. The NASDAQ uplisting seems like the must-have right now, or the application for this. Yeah, investors are very, very focused on these uplisting, and we have seen it with other companies. Yeah, it helps definitely to be on NASDAQ. So yeah, I wish you good luck there. Very interesting, very exciting. Cool. Good. Okay. So yeah, next part is the financials. You provided financials, I think 2 days ago. Very interesting, big growth in most numbers like TTV, total transaction value. Can you give us a little overview about the financials from BANXA? Because I like numbers, and yeah, when I'm looking for investments, I check the numbers.
Undoubtedly, I think the numbers are very important. So what I'm going to do, just to give investors a bit of context, I'll take you through, we work on a 30th of June financial year. So I'll take you through the 30th of June numbers. Then I'll take you through the September quarter audited numbers that we just released a couple of days ago. And then I can give you a bit of an update with regards to October and a bit of I guess, without telling you what the November TTV is, I'll give you a bit of a sense of where we're at. And I'll talk in US dollars just to try and keep it really simple, because we do work in a number of different currencies, both Australian dollar as well as US dollar. So for 30th of June financial year, which started on the 1st of July 2020 and completed 30th of June 2021, in terms of TTV, we did just over 500 million, so $500 million of transaction volume for that particular full year, with revenue of just over 30 million for the full year. And we had just over $18 million of cash and cash equivalents. And we made a small, just over $1 million adjusted EBITDA profit for the year. And obviously a stat loss there, including non-cash items, as well as one-off public company costs. As you may recall, we listed the company in January. So obviously there were a number of costs associated with that. So that's our 30th of June. Now, what I'm going to share now, because it's easy for me to just get it up on the screen and just sort of
yes, that's nice.
Sort of show you. This is now the September. So you'll note for the full year we did 500 million US. For the September quarter, we did 182 million US transaction volume. So you can already see that from a run rate perspective, we are already well ahead if you annualize that. And revenue of 8 million, which once again is also on a run rate higher, and roughly the same amount of cash. So from a cash perspective, and in fact, you'll notice the Australian dollar hasn't moved, but the US dollar has. That's just purely an FX movement. So our cash has actually remained stable from when we reported 30th of June to the end of September. We did, however, report a small adjusted EBITDA loss of just under $1 million. And that's because we're really investing very heavily on building out the team, the capability, and we can talk more about the team in a moment, adding to our technology, adding more coins. We now support 39 coins. And in that September quarter, we added 17 new coins. And so in that respect, the business is definitely performing, well. And in terms of October, I think our September TTV was under 100, or sorry, just over 100. Our October TTV was around 160 million. And obviously, I can't tell you what the November TTV is, the total transaction value, but if you maintain that, 30-odd% growth and you extrapolate that, you'd expect TTV well into the 200 millions for November. You just have to wait till next week or the week after until we release our November results. But the business is definitely traveling in the right direction.
Cool. Yeah, you're in growth mode. We can see this. Can you give us an outlook here? When do you expect profitability here? And yeah, the growth, I mean, we see 30% a month. Yeah, I mean, if this continues, that's big.
Yes, it is. It's I guess the beauty about our business is we can effectively take our foot off the accelerator when it comes to growth. And then we move from a growth business into what I call into harvest mode. And that is really just generating profits and then eventually paying dividends. Right now, the last quarter, we did just over 200 million transaction value. In my view, the potential of this business is to be doing 2, 3, 4 billion TTV a quarter. At that point, that's where we want to be in harvest mode, because ultimately with those kinds of numbers, we should be able to generate 30-40% EBITDA margins. SaaS style margins in a company like ours at scale is very, very possible. So if, I guess putting my conservative hat on, if the market dipped and we went into a bear market for the next 2 years, we could basically, pedal down the growth and move into profitability mode. But today we are still in land grab mode. And what I mean by that is we have 80 B2B customers, and we got some of the big exchanges around the world. And the potential is thousands of exchanges, of wallets, and now increasingly NFT platforms and DeFi platforms. And it's only in the last month that we've actually got a full complement sales team with a head of sales. And so right now we're just going for growth because, we're certainly keeping up with that. But there's no reason, I can't see any reason why we can't get to 2 or 3 billion US TTV a quarter in the foreseeable future.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you have a big team now. Did I hear it correct that you're 160 employees?
It's about 160 people. So we've grown the team, and as we say internally, if we want to win the gold medal, we need to have a gold medal winning team. And over the last couple of quarters, we've added, for example, our head of Europe, our MD of Europe is ex-JP Morgan. Our head of compliance is ex-compliance from the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. Our chief of staff, Chloe, is ex-Google Asia Pacific. So we've really been adding some very serious and experienced talent to the team in order to be able to help take the company to the next level.
Okay, I'm not an expert with crypto exchanges, but I expect that the head count is the biggest cost you have on the balance sheet. Is this correct?
Yeah. So roughly 50% of our OPEX are employees. Mm-hmm. But this is the real beauty of business models like us. Whether we're doing 200 or 300 million TTV a quarter, or we're doing 2 or 3 billion, the core headcount doesn't need to increase materially. And so you may ask, well, what do we need to do from a people perspective to go from 200 or 300 million to 2 or 3 billion? And that is, we need to turn up our Amazon AWS hosting. So it's just, turn up the switch and basically, obviously we'll pay Amazon some extra fees, but we're not talking big numbers. And then we'll need to add further to our customer support team to basically deal with customer support, because my view is we obviously want to always provide fanatical customer support. But all in all, in terms of the core team, the technology does the heavy lifting. And that's the beauty of this model. There's there's a high degree of leverage in the business model. And so we're really at a point where I think we've got a couple more key hires that we're trying to bring on board. And then we're good really until we achieve that, $2 or $3 billion type TTV.
Yeah, really looking forward for this. The thing is with the exchanges, they don't have to suffer financially in a bear market. I think there's also a lot of trading happening in the bear market. So you get the fees, and yeah, it's not so important whether the price goes up or down. Important is that there's a lot of trading happening. I mean, with the miners, it's different. In the bear market, it gets difficult then. But yeah, with BANXA, for example, you can still grow in a bear market, I think, or you can also do M&A things there for struggling companies. You can buy them or so. Yeah, it could be also a very interesting time, the bear market, I think.
And we've, having been involved in the space since 2014, we've certainly seen the peaks and the troughs associated with those particular marketplaces. Just to, you bring up a really good point. Whether the price of Bitcoin is going up or down, BANXA clips the ticket, the fiat on ramps, and now we've recently turned on the fiat off ramps. And what if you want to look at what's the correlation to our growth, it's actually less about the actual price of Bitcoin, although it does help, but it's more about what's the volume at the exchanges. So is there still ongoing volume, whether the price is going up or down? What's really important for us is the transactional volume at the exchanges, because that then ultimately drives what we do in terms of the on-ramps and the off-ramps. Our average dollar value per transaction has remained roughly the same when Bitcoin was 10,000 versus Bitcoin being 50 or 60,000. That further illustrates that point. It's not, we're not correlated to the price of Bitcoin. We're correlated to the transaction volumes in the actual cryptocurrency industry. And as you don't need to be a genius to work out, they've all been moving in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully this can. Yeah, but I really hope that the bull run continues a little bit more. But yeah, no one knows for sure. Yeah, when it comes to exchanges, I'm always thinking, okay, what makes this exchange unique compared to another? When I see the miners, they have these huge infrastructure investments into miners, so you cannot copy this from one day to another. With exchanges, yeah. Some have just an app where I think, okay, this tomorrow it could be another app. So what is unique for BANXA? Where do you think you're better than the competition?
Yeah, and I'm going to just bring this up just to kind of try and illustrate that point. And just once again, just to give sort of everyone a bit of context. So right now we're available in over 100 countries, and as you can see on the page, that's an example of what one of our widgets or implementations look like, where you're actually in an exchange. You're able to say, well, I want to buy some, with US dollars, I want to buy some Bitcoin. You create the order. We take you through an AML KYC process, and the way that we work, once again, I'm jumping around a little bit here. We plug in our widget or our API into global crypto to crypto exchanges, and you can see some of the partners on the screen. And we have, I think I was looking at the top 30 or list the other day. We've got 40-50% coverage of the top 30 so far. So there's still a lot of room to grow, which is great. And then why does the industry choose BANXA? There's really a couple of key reasons. One is BANXA actually has the widest range of payment methods. Most of our competitors do credit card. We do credit card. We've been doing MasterCard and Visa and Apple Pay for many, many years. But in my view is the local payment methods are absolutely critical because they provide, which comes back to the next point, they actually have a higher conversion rate than a credit card. So a local payment method like ACH in the US or SEPA in Europe or Ideal in the Netherlands has a higher conversion rate than credit card. That's the second reason why our partners choose us, is because we actually have a higher conversion rate than, and this is the feedback coming from our partners, than our competitors, because of the fact that we focus on local payment methods. And then the third point is we offer zero fraud and chargeback risk for our partners. We actually take on that risk. We've built technology and in-house capability to manage that risk. And that's part of the value add for our partners, is the fact that we've got the most ways to pay, the highest conversion rates in the industry, and we deal with all the fraud and chargebacks. That's part of our IP and our secret sauce.
Yeah, and I think on top of this, the thing with the regulation, I mean, you get not the proper regulation, or you get not the compliance done within weeks. I think this is a process of years. And especially in this part of crypto, I think it's the most important thing to be compliant with all the regulation in the countries. We have seen shutdowns from different exchanges in some countries and so on. So I think, that's nothing you can achieve in weeks or so. It's a lot of long, hard work to get all these licenses and things like this.
And that's why roughly 25% of our team is in the regulation and compliance division, because it is such an important part of the industry as the industry is starting to mature and grow. And coming back to your point around the bull market, my view is this is very different to what we saw in 2017. 2017 was based upon a lot of hype and very much retail-driven investment. The big difference now is it's actually led by big institutions and funds. It was only the other day that MicroStrategy came out and said they've bought, another X billions dollars worth of Bitcoin, or they're now holding, I think, just under 1% of all the Bitcoin.
124,000 Bitcoin or so, and they bought 7,000. Yes, so he's always shopping when there's a dip.
Yeah, and Grayscale is a major fund. Every time they launch a new fund, they basically suck up all the excess Bitcoin that are actually out there. And with the way that Ethereum's moving, where they're now starting to burn Ethereum, which basically will reduce the number of Ethereum. So it kind of creates a default, kind of like, less coins. It's kind of like the opposite to what's happening around the world with governments printing more and more money. What that ultimately will do will create more value, because there'll be less Ethereum and less Bitcoin out in the marketplace. And hence, for me, this is why I'm so bullish with regards to the space. So just to sort of complete that loop, this is why I believe it's now different, because it's institutional led, and they have a much longer time horizon than the retail investor that is maybe only in it for a week or a few months or maybe a year. While institutions and big pension funds, they inherently take 5, 10, 20-year views on different sectors and industries.
Okay, yeah, but when moon? Just kidding. I'm thinking for a bear market to occur, we need, in my opinion, we need something like a FOMO phase or something like this, because otherwise I think it will go sideways. It's not a bear market and a bull market. That's just my opinion. What do you think here? Do we need something like a blow off top to move into the next bear market, or how do you feel?
I personally don't think we've hit the highs. I still think we've got a long way to go. And like you said earlier, Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy, and he's not the only one, they are now buying the dips. So every time it dips, and even personally, I'm buying the dips. But just putting that aside, from a BANXA perspective, whether the coins are going up or down, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, it doesn't matter which of those coins actually win. What BANXA is the platform, the infrastructure that connects the fiat world, where most people currently exist, with the digital asset world, where less than 10% of the people actually exist. And so if you believe in the hypothesis that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and this whole ecosystem is only going to continue getting more popular, and more interest, and there'll be more money flow from the fiat world into the digital asset world, and then eventually back again, then companies like BANXA that are providing I'm going to call it the picks and the shovels, because I know you love mining as well. And ultimately what we're like the mining service providers, and the service guys that actually providing the mining outfits, the equipment or the surveying. And I'm, by the way, not a mining expert when it comes to these kinds of things. And for us, that's kind of what I've learned over the last 25 years. We want to be the picks and the shovels, the infrastructure of the industry.
Okay, got it. Nice. When we're talking about partnerships, we have seen the big exchanges, you're partnering with them. We have also seen some news about a partnership with NiceHash, which is, some kind of a mining company, or they provide mining services. Can you elaborate on this one?
Yeah, so we recently announced NiceHash. They're a mining pool, as well as they had demand, because if you think about it, you can buy hash power from them. If you're buying hash power, what are you interested in? You're interested in Bitcoin. And so it was just a very logical next step for them to be able to offer the BANXA widget or the BANXA API to their customers and allow their customers to buy and sell crypto all through the NiceHash platform. And they could they have done it themselves? Yeah, they could have. They could have spent the next 4 years trying to build the technology themselves, acquiring all the licenses, or they literally pick up the phone to us, and in a couple of weeks, we got them up and running and integrated in a compliant way. So that's kind of, once again, the value proposition. And we've just announced today Deribit. Deribit is one of the top 20 cryptocurrency derivatives exchanges around the world. We've just signed them up because when you're basically trying to buy effectively a future, you need to buy it with Bitcoin or Ethereum. And so, by plugging in BANXA, customers don't need to bring their Bitcoin or Ethereum to Deribit. You can actually buy it through BANXA on Deribit, and then make your bet with regards to, do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to go up or down? So that's literally hot off the press.
Okay, yeah, exciting for these new partnerships. Seems like BANXA is in growth mode on all fronts there, with employees, with new partnerships, with everything. Really looking forward for the next steps here, financials and so on. Yeah, I mean, there is no industry which is growing so fast than the crypto industry. Yesterday I was talking to Russell Starr. He said it's 2x to the internet growth, so it grows faster than the internet. Yeah, and some of these companies grow even faster than the whole space, and that's just incredible what is possible here in just a short period of time.
Undoubtedly, and we've having been involved in the space since 2014, we can definitely see the significant growth. But we're now, and this is the other sort of interesting thing, is we're moving from the early adopter market to the mass market, and that tipping point is just in the process of occurring. And we know the early adopters are usually the 10-15% of people, by their very nature, are very curious and want the latest iPhone or the latest technology. So that's the early adopter market. But the bigger market out of all of that is the mainstream market. And crypto is now just starting to go mainstream. And it's not 10-15%, but that's 40 or 50% of the market. Obviously, you've then got the laggards, and maybe, I'm not going to say older people, because a lot of older people actually involved in crypto these days, but you've got the laggards, which is another 20 or 30% of people. But you've got this big group in the middle, the 50-60% of people is the mass market, and we're just starting to enter that phase. And I think I saw a stat, if every single person around the world had, I think it was a couple of Satoshis, which is a fraction over Bitcoin, the Bitcoin price would basically need to be over $1 million, just to give you some context. So we're just still scratching the surface when it comes to this whole ecosystem.
Yes, and Michael Saylor doesn't make it better with his purchases. So there is less fractions for the others. Yeah, but that's the early adopter. And yeah, okay, Dom. So yeah, I have no questions anymore. Was a great chat, great interview again. Yeah, really looking forward for the future of BANXA and the whole industry. And yeah, hopefully we can talk soon again.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me, Lucas, and looking forward to the next interview. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.